Well, Mike, I believe you and Casey were hosting this one, right? So you want to kick us off?
Yeah, man, I'd love to. Welcome to our second edition of our Pest Control Book Club. We have The Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. David Schwartz. It was written a little while ago, so it got over 4 million copies sold. So obviously, it's a pretty influential book. So right now, we are on chapters 3, 4, and 5. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So one of my biggest fears, and chapter 3 is on build confidence and destroy fear. Y'all may not know this, but one of my biggest fears is public speaking. I cannot stand it. And y'all have seen me in action before. You know that it's sometimes it's great, sometimes it's bad. So, but
Most
to overcome fear, you must face it. Success is significantly hampered by anxiety. So the National Library of Medicine has got about 4 or 5 different studies on this particular one that I use all the time to help me out. It's chewing gum while public speaking. There's something in that caveman brain that says if you're eating something, you can't be in danger. So it tricks your body into doing something. And Dr. Schwartz goes over a lot of this stuff. It says the best approach to prevent fear from limiting us is to stop fear from developing in the first place. So if you stop that fear from developing in the first place by chewing gum or doing other things, you can usually get around it. So that is my big takeaway from chapter 3. And I want to hear what everybody else has got on chapter 3 if you're ready to rock and roll.
Mike, is it appropriate to eat a Bojangles biscuit while you're up doing public speaking? That's what I want to know.
That's what, as long as it's the Cajun style, I think you're good.
Bow rounds,
Okay.
bow rounds for sure.
Go rounds for sure, definitely. So I know Cole, I'm gonna call on you. You and I were talking, and then Cole, you frozen? You still there?
okay. Yeah, I switched to my computer, so now it's a little bit better for me.
You're good. I know Cole and I were talking yesterday about the book, and he had some really good insight on a lot of the chapters. I think you're on what your third time reading it now?
I've listened to it completely twice, so I'm trying to remember what chapter is what, but it's
Yeah.
it's one of those things that if you just listen to it every day, and I think it's a good thing to write down the notes as you're doing it because you can't just listen to it. It sounds great, and then you don't do anything.
Yeah.
But it's made a difference in my day to day already. Just listen to it. But if we're talking about chapter 3, just build confidence and destroy fear. The biggest thing is just to act.
Yeah.
If there's something you're scared of, do it. There's nothing. I think there was a quote like, "Nothing destroys fear quicker than action."
That's
So
it.
if there's something you're dreading, there's something you're scared of doing, just do it. And anytime you're on the other side of it, you're going to figure out it wasn't that bad. Or if you mess up, then now you have information that will help you the next time you try to do it. So that's what I'm trying to do. Anything that is scaring me right now, I'm just trying to lean into it and just do it. And everything that I'm doing, I'm just finding out it wasn't that hard. It's everything's in your head. You're building up all of these things that could happen, that might happen, and 9 times out of 10, none of that even happens. So
Yeah.
that I think just by doing is what builds the confidence, and the fear just kind of goes away, and you realize you're capable of so much more. So that's kind of to me the biggest takeaway I have from chapter 3. So
Nice. That's good insight. So if we start by imagining ourselves performing bravely while confronting our worries, we see ourselves getting the outcomes we want and overcoming our concerns. So basically, just like you said, Cole, just jump in, dive in, and do it. And by the time you get over it, by the time you're done, you're like, well, it wasn't so bad.
right.
So projecting that confidence and overcoming your fears. Does anybody else get anything different from that?
If we had more time, I'd love for you to tell them the story about your public speaking.
I think we have some connectivity issues. I don't have time to do that right now. So
One of my takeaways, from these chapters is talking about, again, negative thinking and about how, when you kind of train yourself and you're feeding yourself with, negative thoughts, and nobody intentionally does that, right? Nobody intentionally wakes up in the morning and say, hey, I want to fill my brain with negative thoughts this morning and, let it drive my day, right? So somehow over time, or maybe, the people you're around, somehow it just kind of creeps in sometimes. And I think it probably happens to all of us. Nobody's probably immune to it, right? And so I think what's eye-opening with this book is it's a good reminder to be aware of it, right? To kind of have that self-awareness. And one of the things that, one of the sections that hit me, when you can be around other people, are you around other people that are, feeding you with positive vibes, positive, words, or are you around people that, or doing that subconscious negative thing? And sometimes you don't even realize it's happening, right? You don't even realize that, these comments are being made or these things are being said, and you're around. Next thing you know, you're agreeing with a person, or you're kind of getting trapped into that negativity. And like I said, it's not like it happens, like right in your face sometimes, because there are, people in our lives that, you like, or you're friends with, maybe you grew up with in high school or whatever. And so you've got that connection with them. However, they just slowly kind of throw in these little comments here and there. And next thing you know, you're doing the same thing and you don't even realize you're doing it. Right. And so I think the self-awareness that just reading this book helps you realize, look, it doesn't have to be rainbows and unicorns. We always talk about that. But it can be something that it's a good reminder to maybe just kind of be aware of it, when you see it happening, maybe.
And I agree with that as well. And that kind of goes into chapter 4 is big thinkers have the ability to envision what is possible, and surrounding yourself with big thinkers and doers instead of the negative people can really help change your mindset. And then so kind of chapter 4 is how to think big. The magnitude of our accomplishments depend on how you think. Big thinkers have the ability to envision what is possible. So if you surround yourself with those positive big thinkers and people, instead of the negative, you develop that mindset on thinking of big objectives and big rewards instead of the petty stuff. Don't surround yourself with petty people, because Rusty, like you said, it doesn't take much. It only takes a little bit of time. Next thing you know, they're saying something. I was like, well, you know what, you're kind of right about that. That's probably, things of that nature. So chapter 4 is just really on how to think big and focus on what's important, and don't worry about the little things, because the little things don't matter. So anybody else have any good takeaways on that? Mr. Garner Martin shaking his head. I know he's got some good insight for us.
Absolutely. Well, the great part about this book is that each chapter really flows into each other well. And so a lot of chapter 3 relates a lot to chapter 4, which relates a lot to chapter 5. It reminded me of something that we learned in college. It was, the sociologist's last name is Carey, which I know that because I live on Carey Drive, which is very helpful. But his basically, it was the definition of cultural communication, wherein we are able to create these realities of our own. We're able to create this culture simply based off of the way that we communicate with each other, the way that we communicate with ourselves, the mindsets that we have. Kind of like with this whole Pico thing, we're able to have all of these different attributes. We're able to have that be key focuses of the company because they are constantly on mind. If we are constantly looking for perfection, we are going to achieve perfection, or at the very least get stinking close. Just constantly visualizing and moving forward with that, and the way that we communicate with that with each other, I think is really key to getting it taken care of.
Excellent, Garner. Excellent. Mr. Danny Dunstan, man, you really kicked it off last time with some of your insight, man, on this book. I think you're really getting into it. I think more than I had anticipated, which is really awesome to see you jump in and dive in, because I know you're kind of one of the leaders on the service pros here at the team, especially in East Alabama. And man, you've always got a positive attitude. You're always thinking big. You're always, if I'm down, I can call you and you'll answer the phone. What's up? It's just that's just. I'm like, oh, let me call Danny, see what's going on with him today. And when you answer the phone, man, it's always, hey, sir, what's up? So it's pretty cool to have that, man. I'm really glad you're part of this. Have you got any insight on chapters 3 and 4 so far for us?
Well, the one thing that, like Garner said, they all kind of feed off of each other. And I think, related to fear, one of the things that kind of stood out was it's so important, because when we think of, whatever it happens to be, I want to do this. And then, fear creeps in, negativity, and what if it doesn't work out, or what if I'm no good at it, or whatever. But I think it's so very important that they were alluding to is to surround yourself with people and to listen, because we all can't do everything, right? And we're not good at everything. So there may be something that we would like to do, but the fact of the matter is that we're just not good at whatever that happens to be. We can have these desires, but we're wired and gifted certain ways. And so if you don't surround yourself with those people and you don't get feedback from people, then it can turn out to be a huge failure, because you may not, whatever it is your heart desires, I want to do this. You just simply may not be gifted, talented, ordained, whatever the case may be, to do that. But you're only going to find that out if you surround yourself with people that are going to shoot straight with you and talk to you, give you positive feedback, constructive criticism. Just like in our company, for example, as we continue to grow, there's so many opportunities that are available for everybody, but everybody may not be gifted, talented, skilled to step into whatever role that happens to be. And so that's important, just amongst our circle, that we glean from other people, and listen. And, maybe this is what I want to do, but maybe this is a better fit, from what I see, what I experience, whatever, maybe we should point you in this direction. And I think Rusty, talks about it all the time, that, being on that particular bus, maybe we need to get off that bus and transfer to the Y bus and go down that route, So, as we go along and we help one another out, I think it's important, the success of our company, that everybody's in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. So that was kind of a big takeaway for me, because sometimes fear, your fear can come true, if you just step out, and you don't have all this feedback and people point you in the right direction, you're listening to constructive criticism, well then you may be setting yourself up for failure, and that's not what we want for anybody in our company.
Yeah, that's a great point. Good job, Danny. Excellent insight. See, so being on that and going straight into chapter 5 here, like you guys said, man, this book flows really well. So you start off with the one novel concept. How do I think big? What is the magic of thinking big, as the book title says? And it starts with, well, you got to train yourself to think big. You can't surround yourself with negative people. You got to be creative. You got to surround yourself with people who are big thinkers and big doers, because chapter 5 is how to think and dream creatively. And then knowing those people, like, I may not know how to do certain things, but I guarantee I know somebody who does. And to fully utilize the potential of big thinking, the book recommends that you must possess capacity for original thought. The best possibilities in life are typically found by creative people. The act of being creative involves enhancing or developing new processes. Starting with the belief that you can accomplish your goals is the first step toward producing creative work. So you have to believe in yourself, and you have to have the confidence, which chapters 1 through 3 talked about, having the confidence to think creatively, to think outside of the box, to do these things. Because I guarantee you, 3 years ago, when Rusty said, "Hey, I'm going to start a pest control company in the middle of a pandemic," that was, I would say, there's another C word that comes to mind other than creative, called crazy. Everybody thought Rusty was crazy to do this, but this has turned out to almost 5,000 customers, 3 locations in 3 years, guys. This is crazy, and we could have not done this without the people that are here on this call today, being on the, as Danny said, being on the bus and being in the right seat. So I think it's pretty cool the way we've had and what we've done, and this book just really helps us along the way. So I'm glad that we're having these meetings. So Mr. T. Wiggs, man, I'm gonna call on you. You have your phone on your computer on mute the entire time. Let's see what you got, buddy.
I like the part in chapter 5 about like stimulating the imagination. So that made me think about the level 10 meetings that Garner and I and Isaac have started having. And that's been really helping us out a lot as far as brainstorming, getting wheels turning on how to attack different problems that we're having. That's been a huge help for us in tackling problems, especially this time of the year, trying to get creative, find new ways to drum up some business, that kind of thing. So that was a big insight for me on on getting the wheels turning in your imagination.
Yeah. I know that we don't really have in our industry, I hate to call it the slow season, but there are months where the activity is not there. Exactly. Thank you, Ryan. The slow season. You have to be creative in these type of months. You've got to go after these customers and the leads that you may not be getting in. You've got to create it. You've got to think, you've got to have that magic of thinking big in order to be successful in this industry, especially this time of year. And I know someone who's on this call, I'm hoping he's listening, Mr. Turner Mason, who is super creative when it comes to drumming up new business. Turner, you still with us, boss man?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
All right, man. You have definitely got some creativation. Well, for one, when it comes to your music, which everybody's a big fan of, and two, just going out there and hitting some of these rental properties and property management people who you try to drum up leads and business from. Tell me kind of how your concept and how this book is helping you doing that right now.
Well, big thing for me is really thinking outside the box, and kind of like Garner said, everything kind of flows into each other. So I try to keep a real positive mind frame about going in these places, because some of the older pest control companies have been, they've got a foothold in some of these areas, and if I have a negative mind about it, I'll go in. I'm like, you know what? Well, I might as well not even try, because so and so company has this already, and they do it this way, and yada yada yada. But I try to go in and kind of like he talked about, focus on your knowledge. Don't worry so much about what not to say, but just go in and do my thing and talk about what we do, how we do things, what products we use, and hit them with knowledge. Because 9 times out of 10, these property managers are like, nobody has ever explained any of this to me. I had no idea this is how it all works, or what is. I had no idea that I put Niban under the refrigerator. I had no idea you could do this. I had no idea you could do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. In wall voids, like most of them are like, oh, you can go do this or do that, and they just walk in here and spray and leave. But y'all actually treat, and that's kind of some of the things we looked at.
That's pretty cool, man. And that kind of goes along with about asking questions and paying attention to others. Like you go in and you ask these questions about these other companies that are currently have the service with them, and you're asking all these questions of what do you do, how are they doing this, what are they doing, so are you using this, and they're like, no, they just come in and basically, as when the industry calls, spray and pray and leave. That is not solving the problem. That's not being creative. That's you go in and find these different ways to be creative, and that's how you drum up the business, man. You've got to be creative in this industry to stay on top and be a top performer every single day and every single time. And you do that by surrounding yourself with people who can help you think and see things differently. You do that by asking questions and being creative and thinking big. So good insight, Turner. Thank you. So anybody else have any thoughts, questions, or concerns about the rest of the chapters we've read? We've had some really good insight for some really smart and talented people on here. Anything else you guys want to share with us? We're kind of wrapping up. We got about 5 minutes left on the call here, so let's get some creative ideas flowing.
I'll say one of the common themes you've noticed in chapter 1, chapter 4 is all about the people around you, who you surround yourself with. Who do you know that is successful, that doesn't necessarily have the attributes or the assets that you have, and why are they successful? And it kind of gives you, a little introspective there, by the people that you surround yourself with. So again, like Trent was talking about those level 10 meetings, they can use Isaac as an example right there. Trent can use Garner can use Trent. Just what is your successful thing? What can I gather from that person, that may have an ability or an asset that I don't necessarily have? And how can I learn and develop myself from that? And it's a common theme. It's in almost every one of his chapters. So it's really interesting. So just kind of like what Rusty was saying, just think about who you surround yourself with and why they succeed and what they succeed.
Good point.
Yeah, and I also think the biggest thing is just take responsibility for where you're at. Your actions are the reason you've got here. You're current way of thinking have gotten you to the point you're at. But that all can change if you just change the way you think and change the way you react to situations. And I remember watching as a kid the movie The Patriot, and he was teaching them how to shoot, and he would say aim small, miss small, and I didn't know what he was talking about. But if your aim is small and you don't hit the target, you're going to miss small. But if you think big and you have a big goal and you get close to that goal, you're going to miss big. So reevaluate your goals and reevaluate how big you want to think, because maybe someone in your life's taught you that maybe you couldn't do a certain thing or that you weren't capable of a certain thing. Make your goal really big, and then you take the steps and you take the actions to make that change, because no one's going to do it for you. As a man on this call, no one's coming to save you. You know, I doubt you're not going to marry a really rich woman that's going to come and solve all your problems. So, you know, you be the reason that you know, at the end of the day, your success is going to be the things you think about, the actions you take, and how big you set your goals. So just realize that's all your responsibility as a human being to take that on as yourself, because no one's going to do it for you. You know, you have to make the decisions and do the things that are going to change your life. So I think that's the biggest thing this book just keeps hammering home is, you know, it's just your personal responsibility to react a certain way, to think a certain way, to learn what you don't know, to surround yourself around people that you normally wouldn't, to do things differently, take a different route to work. But you have control over all of those things. And everything that everyone else is doing isn't affecting you. You just think it's affecting you. So, I mean, that's my biggest takeaway is just personal ownership of your life. So.
Excellent, man. And I want someone who is the biggest thinker and most creative thinker on here to end with us, Mr. Rusty Pruitt, the reason we're all sitting on this call today.
Yeah. Well, I think Cole just hit the nail on the head. You know what I heard him say without saying it is one of our core values: ownership. Right? You're taking ownership of your actions, of things that happen to you in your life. Right? We can blame the reason we didn't get this promotion or the reason our kid didn't make the basketball team or whatever on a multitude of reasons. Right? We could say, well, it's political over there, and that's why that kid's starting on the baseball team and my kid's not. You'll never hear me say that. You will never hear me say that, because that's not taking ownership, right? It may be true sometimes. It may be true that, okay, that the coach prefers the other little Johnny over there over your kid because he's best friends with his dad or whatever. But I promise you, if we take ownership of that situation, and if we're telling little Johnny that, well, the reason you're not starting is because so-and-so's dad is good friend. That's not teaching our kids to be productive, right? That's not teaching them to take ownership of that situation, right? And so I think Cole, again, spot on there, taking ownership of our situations. And another thing, I would say, that I was taught probably early on, and it's funny, y'all have heard me talk about my mom a lot, as far as the influence she had, in our life. And there were two things that she did as far as like words that we could not say in our household. There were two words. I mean, there were actually a lot of words that we couldn't say, but there were two that she really emphasized. Not necessarily dirty words in most households, but in our household, there were dirty words. Number one was shut up. So I'm probably getting in trouble right now if she heard me say that, right? So we could not say the word shut up to our brothers or whatever. So that was very difficult. Of course, we did it behind her back a lot. But the second one, which is probably falls more in what we're talking about, is the word can't. Can't. C-A-N''T. Can't. Right? If we said the word can't, she would make us write it down on paper and flush it in the toilet. Kid you not. She would make us flush it down the toilet, the word can't. And so if you say, well, Mom, I can't go to that, she would automatically stop you. So she literally removed that word from our vocabulary, right? And so today you probably won't hear me or my two brothers say that word very often if you catch us because of that, right? And so it forced us to think of not why can't I, but it taught us to think, how can I? So think about that, right? Y'all have heard me say this probably. Not I can't, but how can I? Right. So if you say, guys, last year we set a goal for 2023, we set a goal to do $2.4 million in sales. Right. Now, if we said we get together and we're setting our goals, this is toward the end of last year, we said, well, no, we can't do that. We've only been in business for a couple of years. Or, hey, we're going through a worldwide pandemic, or, hey, there's a recession right now. I mean, there are other operators right now and other companies that are saying they're having, not a great year because of the economy. They're blaming it on COVID. They're blaming it on these things. And I'm not saying that's not a factor, but are you going to let that define you, right? Are we going to let that define us? No, absolutely not. We're going to say, how can we succeed in a worldwide pandemic, right? How can we succeed and be successful, if there is an economic downturn? And so when you can train your brain to think of how can you do something, you would be amazed at the possibilities and all of a sudden the different solutions you see that are right there, right? And so I encourage us all, as we wrap this up, when you think of something that's going to be challenging, you think of not why can't I, but think of how can I? How can I accomplish this, right? If you want to make $100,000, say, oh, I can't make that. I'm making half that right now. Well, no, start thinking, how can I make $100,000 this year, right? Or how can I, achieve whatever I'm trying to do, right? So I'd like to leave everybody with that. I think it goes along with what everybody's already touched on, and I encourage you not only to think about that, but your other team members that aren't on this call, I encourage you to start instilling this in your meetings, right? Other people may not be on this call right now because they're, maybe they were intended to, but they're sick, something came up, or maybe, they chose not to be in the book club this quarter, which is perfectly fine, right? However, what you're learning through this book, and if you're taking it seriously and you're really investing in yourself, take that back to your team. Who can tell me what our core focus is at Brewitt Pest Control? It's our core focus. Who can tell me what that is?
Come on, let's go.
To create.
Sorry, I was trying to get myself off of mute. Sorry, there was someone calling in. We strive to create value with every customer, team member, and partner interaction.
Nice.
Absolutely, create value, right? So this is an example of how you guys can create value, right, with your other team members. I know Mike's he's got a kickoff meeting this morning for October. Cole, you're going to have one coming up next week, right? And so just because they're not in this call right now doesn't mean we can't go create value. And I'm not going to name any names, but there's somebody in our company, who has done this for me, right? There have been a few times over the last few months I've gotten a text just kind of out of the blue from this person. And it's just like in very encouraging words, super encouraging words. We've gone through a lot. If everybody on the call doesn't know, yesterday was our last day for owning and being an Allstate insurance agent. After almost 15 years, I sold the business yesterday. And so it's a bittersweet thing. And so it's been, needless to say, it's been very stressful the last few months. We've gone from a large team down to a smaller team over the last few months. And so it's forced me to get, in the trenches in a lot of areas of the Allstate business I haven't done in years. I mean, like years. And this person has dropped a few texts to me, just encouraging me, right? So don't think, people don't appreciate that. And I think that's an exemplary way that this person has created value, right, for a team member. So this person knows who they are. I certainly appreciate them more than words can say. But take what you're learning on this and take it out there and spread that value. So, Mike, with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, brother. Good job.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate everybody. I know everybody's busy. I know everybody's got a lot of stuff going on, but I think we're getting a lot. I'm actually getting a lot more out of this than I thought I would. I'm a big research guy, big learner, enjoy learning new things, love researching new topics. And this is something that the book has helped me deal with in the morning, especially in the morning time. You get up, you're tired, didn't sleep well, the kids come up and start aggravating you and like 5 o'clock in the morning. You're just like, oh man, you get there and you just got to wake up with confidence. He's like, you know what? I'm going to think big today. I'm going to get this. I'm going to go in and I'm going to own this day. I'm going to own this day. By the time I walk out the door, I'm ready to go, man. So let's go. Let's kick it off.